It is day 2 of our preview season here on the channel. It's Oklahoma State's time. Mike Gundy, can they bounce back? Can they improve off of the 2024 season? Let's find out. Welcome to Armchair Analysis. Hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your week this Monday, June 2nd, 2025. If you have not already tuned in, make sure you check yesterday's video out. We previewed the Florida State Seminoles. Really fun video. Had a lot of fun preparing for it and putting things together. And similarly to today, I had a lot of fun preparing this video. And this one challenged me a lot more than others in the sense that I really had to find the things I was looking for. I really had to find the answers I was looking for this team. I don't know that any of them particularly answered my questions. But I did have to find those answers. So, with all that said, all that in the rearview mirror, let's go ahead and talk about this team as we like to here on the channel. We start with 2024. We start with the year before. What was Oklahoma State in 2024? Well, they were 3-9, winless in Big 12 play, which was, again, good. Obviously, winless is good for last in the conference. They averaged 27.2 points per game. That was good for 74th in the country, and they were averaged allowing 35.6, which was 126th in the country. A turnover differential of negative 0.8, good for 121 in the country. These things this season kind of spiraled out of control, and really the biggest question mark and the biggest what if is, or what happened even, is what in the world happened to Ollie Gordon. This team still put up a lot of points, and I'm sure that that's really not the issue at all. But Ollie Gordon's disappearance is something that I think we were all surprised by, the lack of improvement in that category from a guy that we thought might be a Heisman contender to really kind of off the map completely over the course of last season. It certainly doesn't help that the defense was absolutely 100% atrocious. And yeah, they were led by guys like Colin Oliver, and you'd wonder how this defense didn't produce with the NFL talent that they produced. Well, the biggest question was scheme, and I think they really missed a lot of things last year, but they addressed a lot of stuff. First off, they were the number 32 portal class, and they really addressed offense, specifically the line of scrimmage offensively. Really went after trying to fix the offensive line. And then the defense, they absolutely overhauled almost everything that remained on this team. And on top of that, the overhaul, Doug Meacham comes over from TCU to be the new offensive coordinator, a guy who's been around for a really long time, really knows the lay of the land, especially in the Big 12. You have Todd Grantham, who has been all around the sport, and most recently was a New Orleans Saints defensive lines coach. What does that mean for these teams? One, I think Todd Grantham brings a level of defense to this team that will cut down from 35.6 points per game, probably down into the 20s, if I'm going to be honest. I think the talent level puts this team around 25 points per game allowed. Offensively, I don't honestly know what to expect. We'll explain a little bit of that here as we get into it. This is a team, I think, that the expectations are low, and there's a lot of contingent that may sit back, and I'm one of them that tends to agree that typically a Mike Gundy-led team, when they are doubted the most, performs at their best. He does his best work when his team is not even talked about or considered. But I even think that in 2025, it's a tall hill to climb. Again, a number 32 portal class, they changed a lot of stuff. They were the number 54 recruiting class in the country. Pretty standard stuff out there in Stillwater. But let's talk about the team. It starts at quarterback, where Zane Flores and Haas Haney are going to be the ones who battle. Zane Flores was there last year, a guy who I expect to be the starter. But Haas Haney is a name that I think we need to remember and keep in mind as we go into fall camp. Haney, coming over from TCU, was a really highly anticipated player for the Frogs over the last couple of years, and Didn't pan out. Knew he wasn't going to have a lot of time, especially with the emergence of Josh Hoover. He transfers, and he goes to a school where he's likely going to get a chance. I don't love this quarterback room. These are the only two quarterbacks currently listed on the roster post-spring. I do not love the way this sets up right now for Oklahoma State. At running back, you get Trent Howland and Sesi Vihili. Sorry, I said that wrong. Sesi Vailahi. There we go. Two of these guys who were productive last year, I thought really solid, and they're going to rotate around this backfield. And I think take a lot of the effort off of Zane Flores or Haney, whoever the starting quarterback is. I'm going to say Zane Flores because, again, that's my prediction. The wide receiver room gets a big-time overhaul. Christian Fitzpatrick, Jalen Lloyd, Shamar Rigby, and Sam Jackson V. If Sam Jackson V's name sounds familiar, he was at TCU a couple years ago, most recently at Auburn, was a wide receiver at both of those places. Was also a quarterback at Cal. This is his fourth school. Hard to say what I think is going to happen there. I think they did a good job of bringing in experienced talent, but I don't know if the experience is going to relate or correlate to success offensively. This is a team, again, last year, 27.2 points per game. It was good for a top 75 ranking in the country, which is just barely outside of the top half. But I don't know if I truly believe that this is a team that can repeat that from last year. I think the run game is going to open up a lot. They have a heavy transfer offensive line, which is really just an experienced offensive line. 4 out of 5 of these players are juniors. There's Tyler Brumfield, Lavaka Taukieho. Maybe I got that. I don't know. Kason Carpenter and Louis Canepa. And then you got Austin Kowecki out here too. Carpenter being the lone sophomore on this line of scrimmage. Josh Ford's going to be at tight end. I really like what Josh Ford is. He's a good physical player, and I think maybe he adds a little bit of an element to this offense. We're not expecting maybe a safety net for the quarterback, whoever it may be. But overall, the expectations I have for this team are not particularly high. On defense, again, another just lit up with transfers, and hopefully that 1 year of experience that a lot of these players already have, or a couple years of experience that these players already have, will help out. And then the transfers, the one thing I noticed is they're guys that they like, the program likes, specifically the linebacker room. Jaleel Johnson, Brian McCoy, and Trip White. A lot of things I read on message boards and throughout the website. I went through the 24/7 website for Oklahoma State, and there's a lot to like. There's a lot that they like. But what I've noticed from my own perspective is that the transfers in don't have a lot of meaningful snaps on the field. And I think that is going to play into a bit of difficulty, I think, really getting familiarized and comfortable on the field together. It doesn't mean that I think this team's going to be bad. And I'm going to be honest, I certainly have a very low bar for this team right now. I don't like a lot of things that I see in comparison with the rest of the conference. And on top of that, in comparison with who they play in the conference. This schedule is one of the most brutal Big 12 schedules that I've seen in a while. It's tough from the very beginning. When I was going through this and putting stuff together, one of my notes was that I saw little to no obvious improvement. And I still stand by that. I don't know that I see a lot of improvement on this team whatsoever. There's not a lot for me to sit back and say, yeah, these are going to be the guys. Now, they expect Brian McCoy and Trip White to be leaders on the defense at the linebacker position, and I think that's going to be a good thing if they do step up and play that role. But I don't really know. I think the biggest thing here with this entire season is you need to find a direction that you're going to go, and you got to stick to it. And you got to make it the identity of this program for the foreseeable future. Because what I think is going to happen is another year like this, and Oklahoma State starts thinking, yeah, Mike Gundy, you've done great for us for better part of 2 decades now, but 5 wins over the last 2 seasons really isn't in the cards for us, and we need to figure out what's going on, or what our future is going to look like. Do I think Mike Gundy gets fired? No, but it's tough to say. So, with me talking about the schedule and everything else on there, why don't I go ahead and bring up said schedule for you guys to look at. Let's roll through this together, okay? So, you can see it already, and before I do my predictions, as I do, I'll go through the schedule and I'll talk about things that I like and don't like. The things I like, you get UT Martin starting the season, Thursday night game. I believe a Thursday night game. I'm pretty sure that's Thursday night. You get Tulsa on a Friday night, a couple weeks later. I like those 2 games. I think UCF is going to be a little bit lighter. I think it's going to be a winnable game, but it's on the road in Orlando. Bounce house is insane, and I think that at that time of the year, we'll see how the season is going for both of them. But everybody else improves tremendously. Like, on paper, every team they play is either improved or relatively the same versus last year. One of the games that I think is winnable, I talked about UCF, I think Arizona is winnable, but again, you do that on the road in Tucson. Every other game here is with a really, really tough opponent. Baylor is going to be improved, and I think Baylor is going to compete to win the conference. Houston, I mean, Willie Fritz is as good a coach as any, and I think that what he's done in the portal and building this roster up is really tough to beat. Cincinnati is a team that I expect to be better. I'm not the biggest fan of Scott Satterfield, but I think that what he's done so far, and Brennan Sorsby getting another year in this offense, they're going to be tough. Texas Tech's a projected conference championship contender. Kansas, hard to say, but they got a new stadium now, or should have a new stadium now this fall. Kansas State's not really going anywhere. Avery Johnson's got a year under his belt as a starter. I expect a lot of good things from K-State. And then you get Iowa State, another team that's expected to compete for the conference title. Where do you have a chance to sit back and breathe if you're Oklahoma State? You're already sitting in over-under of 5.5. The favorite right now is for them to hit the under. Their odds to win the Big 12 are plus 5,500, and their odds to win a national championship are plus 100,000, meaning you would make $1,000 for every dollar you bet if Oklahoma State actually won a national championship. I don't condone wasting your money on that. What do I think of Oklahoma State? You're going to kick the season off right. Big win, UT Martin. Kind of just see where you're at, what kind of team, what kind of program you have sitting behind you, or with you if you're Mike Gundy. You go on the road to Oregon, and a note I put in here is that this game is going to set the tone for the whole season. If you go to Autzen Stadium, which is going to be a 3:30 Eastern time kick, a 12:30 local time kick out there in Eugene, you're going to go to Autzen Stadium and play Oregon on the road. And this game sets the entire tone for the season. If you go in there and you get absolutely run off the field in the first half or in the whole over the course of the whole game, it kills the confidence of this team. If you go in and you play competitive and you lose by maybe 2 scores even, I think you walk out of the game with a lot of confidence and this feeling of, hey, we may not be a national championship team. And this is a fan's perspective. This is not the locker room perspective. We may not be a national championship team, but we're certainly going to win some games this year. We're certainly expecting to go bowl eligible. Personally, if you walk out of this game and you're on the field in this thing, you walk out of this game close, you're devastated and you want more. And you're going to fight for it. My personal take here, though, should be relatively obvious. I think Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon is going to roll in this game. I think Dante Moore is going to kind of announce his presence as the new starter for the Ducks, and it's gonna set off a shockwave for both sides. Big shockwave for Oklahoma State. They'll get a win over Tulsa. I think that's going to be a interesting game, but Tulsa's welcoming in Trey Lamb as their new head coach. They're going to be changing a lot, doing a lot of different stuff. I think that it's going to be a good time again to kind of feel out where you're at. You're coming off of a devastating loss and devastating, maybe even embarrassing loss. How do we move forward? How do we get through this season? I think that going into this Tulsa game, there's a lot riding on how you perform and how you answer that loss to Oregon. You get Baylor at home, and I think you're going to lose that game. I have a lot of love for Sawyer Robertson. I have a lot of love for Dave Aranda and this Baylor defense. I think is going to be lights out this year. Baylor might just be the best kept secret in college football. Might just be the best kept secret in college football. We'll see. Moving on, you go on the road to Arizona. I think you're going to lose that game, coming off of a tough loss, expecting Houston to be a competitive game. It's just a game that sits in a really bad spot. I give Arizona the home field advantage to the win. Go to Houston, taking another loss. I love Connor Wegman. I've been a fan of his since he committed to Texas A&M. I expect a bounce back for him this year. I think Willie Fritz has this Houston program going in a really good direction. I think they're going to be really heavily improved in 2025, and it's going to make this a really tough game. I know Stillwater's a tough place to play, but I'm kicking that to the side. I'm taking Houston. Also going to take Cincinnati. I really, again, like Cincinnati. I like what Brendan Sorsby was last year. Another year of experience. And by this time in the season, it's starting to kind of fall downhill. And you got to play that game a week before you go on the road and play what could be the best team in the conference in 2025 and Texas Tech. You're going to do that, go on the road, and you're going to face a solid offense. And I think that Texas Tech is going to have some answers or some things to answer early in the year. Losing Zach Kitley, what's the offense look like? Are they continuing that air raid style? I presume so. Or are they going to maybe make a few changes? I assume air raid style stays. I assume Baron Morton stays the consistent player that he's been since he took over the starting job. Taking Texas Tech. Going on the road to Kansas, and I think this is a super winnable game. I really do. But I think at this point in the season, confidence is really low. At this point, we're starting to get to the point where what more could go wrong? You're sitting here at 2-6 and wondering how in the hell do you get through these last 4 games. And you're doing it on the road a week after you go and lose at Texas Tech. I think they're going to lose this one too. I think they're going to fall to Kansas State. You're going to go into Orlando at 2-8. And at this point, again, it's more so, what do we have to lose? You're going to be trying different things, trying to figure out what in the world you can do to fix things. And you're not going to get it done. You're going to lose to UCF. And lastly, Iowa State, giving them a loss. I think 2-10. And I feel so bad doing this. I do not like giving teams these bad records. I just not at all. And especially a team like Oklahoma State. I like what they are. I like what Mike Gundy has created in Stillwater. But I just cannot look at this roster and say it's any better than last year. And I also can't look at this roster and sit here and say that they go and play this Big 12 schedule and do really much of anything with it. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a little on the low side, and I certainly think that they probably approach 4 wins. But I don't see a season where I don't see a way this goes where they make a bowl game. Clearly, the majority of people don't either, because the under is favored, under 5.5. And when I went through this roster earlier for you guys, and I told you I don't see where the improvement is. I don't see how this team gets better than 3-9 and 0-9 last year. The biggest thing that hinders you is that you play in Oregon this year, and you didn't last year. So 2-10, it's brutal, and I genuinely could not be more sorry to you Oklahoma State fans who tuned into this maybe hoping for some positivity. But what I will say is that this is where the tough questions become and get asked. By the way, that plus 5,500 to win the Big 12 is dead last, tied with West Virginia for dead last, as a matter of fact, to win the Big 12. And I mean, they just don't get any breaks. They really don't, and it's gonna be a rough year. I think it's sad. It makes you ask the tough questions again. Does Mike Gundy stick around? I think if you go, I think 5 wins in 2 years is certainly enough to say, look, I mean, it's enough to say, hey, you got one more year. You got one more to get it done. It may even be enough to say, you know what, thanks for all you've done, but you're gone. Now, I will say, I will gladly be wrong here, and I'll gladly watch Oklahoma State go 7-5, 8-4, maybe even 9-3. I'll sit back and say, where in the hell did they come from? But this does not look like a team, and I'm tired. I'm done going out of my way with these outlandish takes on certain teams. It would be outlandish for me to take this team to go 6-6. So, again, I'm sorry to you Oklahoma State fans who tuned in. Everybody else who tuned in, especially if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're welcome, I suppose. But yeah, we go on. The next video tomorrow, Purdue Boilermakers. I'm excited. Barry Odom starts his tenure at this university, and really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I thank you all for tuning in. If you've made it this far, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I'm missing, Oklahoma State fans. Don't sit here, tune off this video, and be like, man, this guy's an asshole. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Possible. But let me know. Let me know what I'm missing. Let me know what I need to know about your team. Because again, as I say all the time, I don't know all these teams better than you guys do. And more times than not, you guys are going to know something that I don't know. No matter how hard I try, it's going to happen. That's the way life goes. I can't know everything. Let me know what I'm missing. Let me know who and what I should be looking out for on this Oklahoma State roster in 2025. Make sure you stick around because you're not going to want to miss what's coming up next. Purdue tomorrow, Mississippi State after that. So, yeah, with that said, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow with the Purdue Boilermakers.